The third do is to get to know your hair on a personal level. Get to know the products that your hair likes, and you'll want to kind of forget what you knew about your hair when it was in the loose state. Hey y'all, welcome back to Holistic Flow. I am your girl Lolo, and in this video today, I'll be telling you all a little bit of do's and don'ts before you start your locks. Some of these will be some things that you want to consider or think about really before you start your lock journey, and then other things will be just things that within the first 1 to probably 8 months, which is like the starter lock phase or the baby lock phase, however you want to phrase it, you'll want to consider so that the rest of your lock journey can be breezy and easier. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it will be easier based upon the things that I've gone through during my lock journey, my starter lock phase. And a lot of these things are from a spiritual perspective. Because if you haven't figured out yet, a lock journey is a spiritual journey. Even if you're not aware of it, we're always on a spiritual journey, a spiritual walk. So if you haven't seen it from that perspective, maybe consider seeing it from there. Let's get into it. All right, so I'll go back and forth on do's and don'ts. Do's number 1, the first do, is consider your why. What is your why? What is your reason for going on your lock journey? What do you want to achieve? And I mean, not that the end goal really is super important here, but you want to have a why so that everything else that you do can have purpose to it. You want purpose. You want it to be intentional. I know you know about setting intentions and for your day, whether you do it in the beginning of the day, right? So setting intentions is something that you pretty much want to do with every single thing that you do, because the reason that you do that thing is going to spark the outcome of that thing. So why do you want to start locks? It can be for any reason. It can be because you want the look of locks. That's totally fine. It can be because you are going through changes in your life and you just need some security, you need some strength, and you need some grounding, and you want them to help ground you. That's definitely a byproduct of having locks. It could be for anything, but just whatever your why is, just make sure it's genuine to you, because whenever it's genuine, then the rest of your journey will be even more genuine and you'll be able to commit to it. Because at the end of the day, locks will expose if you have commitment issues. That's number 1. And number 2, it is a journey. Unless you're getting instant locks, of course, which there's nothing wrong with that, but why? And then the rest of the things will come. And the first don't that I have is to not get locks because you want them to look exactly like somebody else's head of hair. Look, I promise you, it's not going to. Even if you have pictures on your Pinterest board full of other people who have locks that you think that your hair looks like them, it's okay to identify that your hair looks like somebody else's hair who has locks, because that's one of the main things that people do when they go to start locks is they look at other people who have similar hair textures, and that's totally fine. I think you should do your research, but notice or know that your hair is not exactly the same as any other hair. Like natural hair, afro textured hair is super unique. It's like your own fingerprint. Your fingerprint, there's nothing else like it in the whole entire world. And there are trillions of people in the world, trillions. So realize that your hair will never look exactly like any of the trillions of other people's heads of hair or whatnot. And so that can often breed unrealistic expectations because you want it to look exactly like somebody else's. And that might make you disappointed when you find out that it doesn't later on in your journey. Which brings me to do number 2. Do number 2 is be optimistic and open-minded about your lock journey. This is huge because I promise you, if you go into it expecting it to look exactly like how it did in your starter lock phase, and you get to the mature phase and it doesn't, again, that can breed disappointment or feeling like you failed or you did something wrong. And there's no such thing as doing a lock journey wrong. Honestly, there's not. There's things that can be detrimental to the hair. There's things that you can do to damage it, of course, but you don't want to do those things. You want to be open-minded and optimistic in the sense that your reality isn't always going to beat the expectation. With the lock journey, actually 90% of the time, your reality is not going to meet the expectation, because when you have starter locks, they're in a stage where it's starting to get used to being locked up. Not locked up like Akon won't let me out, but locked up in the sense that it's like secure. Locks are a foundation. So when you have loose natural hair, your hair is not used to this state of constantly being in the same spot, not being detangled, not being manipulated, not being slicked back, or whatever type of styles that you do. The hair is used to doing that. So when you put it in a state that's like, it's actually given more freedom to do what it wants to do, it's kind of like, whoa, this is so new. Like, what do? I'm confused. Right? So your hair is going to be confused. It's getting used to that lock state. So during that mature stage or mature phase, it's going to be important that you be open-minded and optimistic to what it may look like. And know that the lock journey is working for you, not against you. And the second don't that I have, this is when you get into your lock journey. Once you've started your locks, you can start concerning yourself with how often that you want to style your locks, if at all. A style is when you manipulate the locks in any way to make it look more presentable in your eyes, whatever that may look like. Any styling is okay as long as it is not damaging to the edges. No edges left behind. So you don't want to do slick backs a lot. I would say limit your styling to once a month or less. Please don't style the locks like every 2 weeks, because when you're in your starter lock phase, your locks are really vulnerable. It's in a new state, so your hair is still getting used to a lot of things. And so that's why a lot of the times that baby lock stage, it looks somewhat like, crazy. Or some people call it the ugly locks stage or the ugly phase or whatnot, because it doesn't look like locks yet. So avoid styling the hair a lot, because the less you manipulate the hair, the more that the hair can be trained and learn that this is the most natural state that it's in, and it can start to become comfortable, which is when it starts to mature. So I actually think, from my own observation and from my own experience, that the less that you style the hair when it's in the starter lock phase, the better it's able to mature. Or even I would argue to say that the faster it's able to mature as well. So don't style your hair every 2 weeks, please. Less than a month. The third do is to get to know your hair on a personal level. Get to know the products that your hair likes, and you'll want to kind of forget what you knew about your hair when it was in the loose state. When you started your starter locks, your hair will transform. Your hair will be different. The products that worked for your hair when it was loosely natural, it probably might not work for your hair when you start to get locks. It is important to know your hair, the characteristics of your hair. For example, there is your hair porosity. The porosity level, if you think of pores, pores in your skin, things get into your skin through the pores. So porosity is how well your hair soaks up or absorbs moisture. When you're in the shower and you're washing your hair, however you wash your hair, how long does it take for your hair to get absorbed, like drenched in water, for it to be able to lather? My hair takes a lot. It takes a long time for my hair to absorb water, so I have to use more warm water. If I use cool water, then it probably won't absorb into my hair, because it's the porosity of my hair. My hair is low porosity. So if you know that your hair is low porosity, then that might affect the products that you use, especially on your locks. That might even affect how you start to moisturize your hair. The same thing with your hair type. or your texture or your pattern or whatever you want to call it. There are so many different types of patterns, you know, the letters and the numbers, if you want to use that typing system, or you say that you have 3 hair or 4 hair, that does matter a little bit as to how you're going to style your hair, or moisturize your hair, your routine, and that will evolve over time. So getting to know your hair more will allow you to have a better experience in your starter lock stage once you have first set your expectation, or not your expectation, but once you have known your why, and then you have become open-minded and optimistic, then you can then learn your hair, and everything afterwards will become a lot smoother for you. The third don't is to not rush the process. Be patient. That will definitely serve you in the first 1 to 8 months after you've started your locks, because sometimes we think that our hair is supposed to grow a certain length, or we think it's not supposed to grow a certain length. And again, this goes with the expectation versus reality thing. If you're open-minded and optimistic, you won't have this problem. But this don't is important, because some people later down the line, they regret getting locks because they really wanted their hair to be a certain length by a certain time. And when it's not that certain length, then they're upset. Or when they can't style it in the way that they want to, they're upset and they want to take it out. And it's like, those things don't have to impact the lock journey that much if we just exercise patience and be comfortable with wherever we are. Just be satisfied with wherever you are. And that's not only with your hair, that's just in life. And that's why a lock journey is a spiritual journey, because a lot of things that you learn on the lock journey, such as patience and growth and just being more authentic to yourself and to your roots, no pun intended, then that translates into your life as well. Do number 4, when you start to maintain your hair, whether it's you or someone else that you trust, make sure it's someone you trust, or a loctician, allow it to only be one person. I would not have multiple different people doing my hair, just because it's a spiritual thing for me too. Like, if you think about how powerful hands are, you know, like the laying on of hands and all that things, hands have healing energy, but they also like transfer energy just in general. So I wouldn't want to have a lot of people's energy in my hair, because to me, hair is antenna. Hair is a part of the crown chakra. And once you get into the mature lock stage, which will be later on in your lock journey, you'll realize that this foundation that you're building during the starter lock phase is a foundation for your protection. This is a magnet. This can be a magnet against negativity, and it can be a magnet that draws in and attracts positivity. And I have experienced that firsthand. So, hand, no pun intended. So you don't want a lot of people's hands in your hair. I personally do my own hair, and nobody else has ever touched or done my locks ever. And even if you want to cover up your locks, you can do that as well. But don't have a whole bunch of people doing your locks. That kind of is a do, but then a don't as well. Okay, the actual don't, number 4, is please do not use wax in your hair, like at all. Wax is just bad. There's no good things that I can say about it. I mean, there's a time and a place for everything. And there's a time and a place and a head of hair for wax, but your head of hair in the lock state is not it. So please don't use beeswax to slick down your hair because you want them slick edges. Yeah, your edges are better off without the slickness. And you can use something else, something more natural, something more light, because wax can cause buildup and it's really sticky. If you've ever used wax when it is in its warm state, just like oil, when you put wax in your hands, warm it up with your hands, and then put it in your hair, it seems all good, right? But then when you go to wash it out, and the water may be warm, but it's not washing it out because wax is made to stick. So it's going to cause buildup. No doubt about it. Wax always causes buildup. So since this is a foundation, your starter locks are the foundation for the rest of your journey, and you certainly do not want heavy products like wax in your locks. Do number 5, do research the style, the size, and the look, just generally, of your locks before you start your lock journey. I understand that because of all the things that I said previously, that sometimes you can't predict what your locks are going to look like when they're mature, but you can kind of put yourself on a good path if you have done all the steps before in the do section. Then you'll know your why, like why you want locks, and that may affect how you want your locks to look. If you want locks because you want to have a more effortless style or effortless look, but you still are like in the professional world or whatnot, and you want them to look like really clean or whatnot, you might go for sister locks or micro locks, because micro locks and sister locks, they're maintained in a way that they're tightened at the roots so that they can look a little bit more clean, and you may be able to do more versatile styles with them. And that's just depending on your preference. But, say if you want a more like laid back, relaxed look, and you just don't care about how quote unquote clean that they look, kind of like me. And so you don't mind having thicker locks. You want to semi-freeform your locks, kind of like I'm doing. So that also affects your parting style that you get, how many locks that you start with as well. And this will highly depend on, again, your hair porosity, your hair thickness, and your hair density as well. So again, if you did the previous steps, if you figured out your why, and also if you got a chance to get to know your hair on that level, you'll know that maybe because of your hair density, if your hair density is high and you have really thick hair, maybe you don't want to go for micro locks, because you may think that it might be a lot more maintenance because you'll have a lot more hair on your head. That's another video. If you want to see another video about how to choose your lock size and style and all that, you can go in this tab and I explain it a lot more in depth. But yeah, definitely do your research before you go into your lock journey. And then the last don't I have on this list is don't that's a Bryson Tiller reference, by the way. That's so 2010. Don't listen to haters when they tell you that you should take out your locks, or your starter locks especially, because they look unkempt, or however they say it. But mostly this will come from probably like close family members, maybe older family members, because they just won't get it. So when you're in that first couple of months, a lot of people, you may get a lot of looks, or you may get a lot of comments here and there, especially at your job or wherever. So just stick through it. Again, if you know why you're doing this and it's important to you and it feels right to you in your heart, you've already made up your mind. Don't have commitment issues. Just go for it. You won't regret it. I promise you. I promise you that. There are people who have started over, twice or 3 times, and that's fine as well. Just don't allow other people's opinions to be the reason why you start over, if that's your case, right? So yeah, don't listen to other people. Keep your locks in. Your locks are a plant. They're a reflection of what's in the inside, and it's just being brought out into the surface. So that's the video. Here are the do's and don'ts that you should consider before you start your starter locks from a spiritual perspective. And I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and also make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, because I make a lot of lock content like this. And let me know what your request is for my next video, the next video that I should do. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, I'm sending peace your way, love your way, and joy to you, your family, and your friends. All right, y'all. Peace.